How we doing? How are we doing? Oh my God. Got to get some energy in this room. Speaking of energy, I'm absolutely convinced that Loic and Geraldine are powered by small nuclear devices inside of them. Because I've never seen so much energy in terms of creating this, doing all the things they do. And what I'm going to talk about is 3 challenges that I want to put out to this audience, here and around the web, everyone watching us, related to mobility and energy. So today, as you've heard from Carlos yesterday, from Shai today, we're nearing 1 billion cars in the world. 1 billion cars in the world today. If you break that down, in the United States, we have about 250 million, a few more here, and China is the fastest growing and largest market right now for cars. Every year in China, they're adding 16 to 20 million new cars every single year, and that rate is actually increasing as well. When you think about the progress we have or have not made since 1908, if you think about what are the miles per gallon or kilometers per liter that we had back then, and what do we have now? Well, back then, we had about 20 miles per gallon. That was what the cars got back then. Anyone want to guess today what the average of the fleet is in miles per gallon? It was 20 back in 1908. Any guesses? 24? Any other guesses? 10? So in about 100 years, we've come to 22.5. The good news is it's a little higher here in Europe. That's great. China's trying to move it up as well. But roughly speaking, we're at 22, 25 miles per gallon. That is the progress we've made in 100 years. And the fact is that if we continue growing this way, we're going to run out of the oil needed to make this happen, as you've heard from a number of folks. So we have a wall. We have a market failure. How do we get past this market failure? There are a number of things we have to do. First, we have to go beyond today's technology. I'm proud to be associated on the board with the X Prize. Has anyone heard of the X Prize? So our first prize was to go to space and back twice in 2 weeks. Burt Rutan did it, and Richard Branson licensed that technology to now launch Virgin Galactic. Our next prize, which we co-founded and now just gave out the $10 million, was the Automotive X Prize. And this is a prize for a car that goes 100 miles per gallon or equivalent and can be made cheaply, easily, and at scale. And we just gave away that $10 million. So we know now, as of 2 months ago, that this is possible. The good news now is that the cars are starting to come. The Nissan Leaf is coming. We have other cars that are coming, the Tesla. We have the Fisker Karma coming, along with the Heel. And so a lot of cars are coming, including one I just saw at Burning Man. If you've heard of Burning Man, you may have seen this car. This is the Blueberry Muffin car, all electric, gets great mileage, no gas. Fantastic car that I saw moving across the desert in Burning Man. So a lot of creativity, a lot of innovation, and that's good. But now we need something from everyone here. We need to merge the worlds of IT and MT, mobility technology. The cars are important. Yes, we need new batteries. Yes, we need better kinds of vehicles to go farther and faster. That's great. But unless we connect the entire thing together in a network, it's not going to work. The charging stations back in the 90s, why did it fail? Partly it failed because the charging stations were not connected to the internet. So when you drove to that station, you had no idea whether it was good or not good, free, not free, available, not available. What's happening now is that we're now merging IT and MT. And this is my first challenge to you. If you download one of these apps, it's live today. This is an app right now that will tell you where the charging stations are, and not only the GPS location that you can bring into your TomTom, your navigation device, or things like that, but also, is it available? Real-time information. Is it available? Thank you. So what my challenge to you is, We need more of these apps. We need 1,000 of these apps, 10,000 apps. Think about integrating this into location-based services. Think about integrating this into all kinds of other applications, where as you're driving, the car is now aware of so many different kinds of things that it was not aware of before. Think about your navigation devices and how you want to integrate that. All the cars are connected. All the charging stations are now connected. What can you do with that? This, my friends, is the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things is going to be much larger than the Internet of People. We may have 1.2 billion people on the Internet today. We're going to have billions and billions of devices. And this is one of the key challenges. Second challenge. Okay, 900 million cars I talked about. We're going to have 9 billion people on the planet. A lot of those people are going to say, I want to have a car. Now, if all those people say that, if half the people say that, if a third of the people say that, if a quarter of the people say that, we're done. That is not going to work with today's technology. So now we have to think not only of new technology in terms of the car itself and the IT that meshes it together. We need new business models. We need to rethink car ownership. We need to go beyond that and say, maybe there's something called the EV Commons. Just like there is the digital commons, how about the electric vehicle commons? How about a commons that allows everyone to put up charging stations and offer that, make that available? Sort of how phone.com makes it the Wi-Fi available to lots of different users around the internet in a mesh. So if hotel chains start putting up charging stations, and retailers put up charging stations, and conference venues put up charging stations, and others in businesses and corporations do, then everyone does their part just like the internet. No one company said, we're going to make all the computers and put all the computers and connect them all to make the internet. It was a distributed mesh model, and that's the EV Commons we now need. We need these new business models. We need to rethink just owning a car. If the car is available and I can go on my iPod or I can go on my BlackBerry and reserve it and use it from 2 to 6 p.m. and I grab it, great. Other business models, Better Place business model, all kinds of, we need hundreds and hundreds of new business models because ownership for 9 billion people is simply not feasible. Third challenge, the energy itself that drives everything. Because now that we are electrifying the car, it now becomes part of the larger electricity picture. It now becomes part of where we're going as a society in terms of how we generate our power and our energy. Today we generate it in these different ways. And my challenge to you is not only to think about, oh, let's make this cleaner. Of course, let's make this cleaner. But we keep thinking about just making enough energy, just enough, to power everything we have today. Today, we're using about 18 trillion kilowatt hours of energy every single year. But we know that the sun in 1 hour gives us more energy than what the entire planet uses in 1 year. In 1 hour, just in the band that is actually usable, we get more energy than we need for the whole year. So we know that we can harness a lot of energy. When I say sun, I'm not just talking about solar energy, because wind energy comes from the sun, because of the changes in climate that the sun produces. All the renewable energies ultimately come from the sun, in addition, of course, to geothermal. So when we think about energy, let's think about not just 20 trillion kilowatt hours, but what if we had 10x? What if we had 200 trillion kilowatt hours of energy? What would you do with that? You may have thought, what would I do with $1 billion or $2 billion? Great. But what would you do with 10 times the energy if that were made available to you? What applications would you use? What would you produce? Would you produce a new kind of cloud that has incredible computing and be able to data mine and perhaps even replicate the brain? Is that one application? Would you think about beam-powered rockets? Today we're limited in terms of exploration of space and satellites because we have to push everything up with fuel. What if you can beam a laser beam to the rocket and it follows the rocket as it goes, giving it energy with a laser beam? How about water? One of the key barriers to having clean water for everyone on the planet is energy. Because to Desalinate the water takes a tremendous amount of energy. What will you do with this kind of energy? The challenge here is not even so much the technology, it is our own imagination. I brought this to show you. This is a LED light. Has anyone used LED lights yet in their house? Great, excellent. This is a very early adopter audience. And what's cool about energy is that it's not just electricity that comes in, but again, it's our collective human power. It's our mental thought that we need to really power this. This is a special bulb, of course, that when you think very hard, it will light. So it's a very, very good one. But when we think about these kinds of things, it is, again, not just the technology that is holding us back. It is our own imagination. We have to go beyond. We have to say, how can we get to 10x of energy, and what will we do with that? So I leave you with these 3 challenges. As technical people, I was super happy to have startups and tech startups and build them, as many of you here. How can we now apply our skill set to mobility technology? The kind of apps I just showed you with charging stations, apps that speak to cars, apps that bring everything together with local information and Yelps of the world and location-based services and checking in and things like that. Second challenge, new business models. We know for certain that car ownership as the traditional model will not work, will not scale. The numbers tell us that. What new models do you have? A company just started in California just recently that not only is doing car sharing the way we generally think of it, that is a pool of cars owned by a company, you can grab it for a few hours, they're saying to you, put some technology in to your own car, and when you're not using it, make it available to others. Will it work? We don't know, but we need that experimentation. That's what we need right now. And third, the energy itself. Now that cars and power are coming together and converging in this new power grid, how do we think about not just making it clean, not just bringing solar and wind and geothermal and hydro to bear, but how do we go beyond our current needs to think about new applications for the future that will change not only ourselves, but also maybe bridge us to other worlds? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack. Wow, you surprised me.
Sit here?
Sure. So you just went public with that, right?
Yes.
Today?
Just a few days ago, we just launched the world's first car sharing.
You should stay. We have Mel Young, who is presenting the very first a platform for poverty, and it's the World Soccer.
Homeless soccer.
Yeah, it's. I'm a little tired. You should stay for Mel. I'll make sure you have you'll have plenty of time for networking in a bit. We should wrap up though, Jack.
Yeah.
So you launched. Just tell me about your company now. Give me a 1-minute pitch.
Basically, we built a consortium, not a company, but consortium of many large companies, Hertz and Starwood and many others, to say, let's start changing these models. Let's make electric vehicles available not just to purchase, but also to car share, to rent, flexible fleets, corporate fleets. Let's put it everywhere, make it ubiquitous, so you don't necessarily have to buy one to start using these. Let's make it $7 an hour. Let's make it €5 an hour to use one of these kind of vehicles, and let's start building the EV commons by putting charging stations at hotels and conference venues and corporations, and build it out collectively, not just having one company do that. So that's the consortium approach that we've taken to generate a new revolution in terms of how we think about cars. Instead of in your driveway all the time, maybe think about it as a commons.
And you have Hertz as a partner.
Hertz is the core partner, and we're now launching it in New York, London, Shanghai, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., all over the world.
Wow. Thank you very much, Jack.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. And
Thank
good
you.
luck with that.